All right, welcome back. So here's the second half of the video. Last one we just worked on how to get two classes to work together and the really basics of creating a method. So this one I really want to talk about variables, then we'll revisit methods. But variables are really important because the biggest thing is each object you create gets its own value of the variable. So you could have a troll class that has a health, and then every single troll you create, so one little tiny class you write in plain text, and 100 different trolls could all be keeping track of their own health value. So one troll will have 87 out of 100 left. Another troll will have 13 out of 100 left. Another troll will have already died, so it'll be at a 0 or a negative value, right? And so that's the power, is one class could make 1,000 different objects, all keeping track of its values, right? That's the idea of like a bank, right? Every single customer has an account number, an account balance, a history of transactions, but one class for a bank account that's dynamic enough and well structured enough can handle every single account in the bank, right? So it's all about creating one good plan and then instantiating it lots of times. So let's go through some variables here in the same set of slides on 10. Okay, so when we look at the UML diagram up top, it'll be the name of the variable and then the data type. Okay, as you go through, I have just a couple examples of creating some values and then a function inside the same class, because these are global scope. We'll add 1 and 2 together, right? Since we created the two integers inside the scope of the entire class, that means every function, which is in the class, has access. So it can add those two, or, it could update them in any way, right? Subtract, add, modify, just more examples of that. And then here is where it gets to the interesting part, right? So what I was saying is every single thing could keep track of its own value. So here's a really simple person class, which all it does is have a name. So each person has a name that's a string. And then you could set that name, right? Logically, it does what you say. So you send in a string and it updates the variable to be that value. And it doesn't return anything. And then I just have a print name. So that way you have a way of checking what the name is. All right, so here I create a person called P1. Okay, it doesn't have a value for name at all yet. Okay, I didn't send it any information. All I said is make a blank person. Okay, then I say on that P1 object I just created of the person class, call the setName method and update its name to be Sam. So now P1 does have a name. So the value of the string name is now Sam. And then I'm going to create a whole second person object, right? Again, no value. It's totally blank. It's just a new object in memory. And then next I say on that P2 object, go ahead and set its name to Jose. So now I've got a P1 that has a name Sam and a P2 whose name is Jose. And then I just go ahead and I say, hey P1, print your name. Sure enough, it shows up as Sam. Hey P2, print your name. Sure enough, it shows up as Jose. So here's just a really simple example on how you could make two different people and both would have different names, right? They're keeping track of their own variable values. Now, it's really often, I did what's called a setter, so a function that updates a value. These go by so many names. So here I call them modifier methods. There's so many names they go by. Often they're just referred to as getters and setters, but there's many more than just those two. So here's a really simple value is we go, here's int1 and int2, which have no values, and then we make a public method. So we would actually hide these variables away. So no one has direct access to these variables, which is a good habit in object-oriented programming that we'll get to later. It's called encapsulation if you just want to Google it. But we protect the two values and we only open up certain access points. In this one, we just let people set them to whatever we want. Okay, and so this setNum simply takes in local values, right? So we're saying some integer is going to come in, we'll call it N1. Another integer is going to come in, we'll call it N2. And then we set these global variables in the class to whatever the user set in. And so this method lets us set the two numbers to 4 and 9. It says, hey, set the numbers to 4 and 9, and then when we add, that goes, okay, 4 plus 9 is 13, and it updates the global answer. And then test.print, which prints the answer, would now print 13. But this gives us access to update our object, right? After we've created the object, we can now interact with it. We can say, hey, object, like take some damage. Hey, object, I'm sending you new information. Incorporate that into your plan. And so that's what a modifier method really does, okay? There's more example on that. So what I want to do now is just make a kind of mini project with you guys. So I'm going to go back to Troll and Troll Runner, and I've kind of sketched out here what I want to do, okay? So I want to make some trolls, and each troll is going to have a name, and it's going to have health, and then you're going to be able to interact with the name a little bit. So you can set the name. You can have the troll introduce itself, so it can say, hey, my name is, or you can get the name. So in general, usually we just have this getter and a setter. I'm doing this quick print name because that way we don't have to work with return values on the first little intro video. And then with health, I'm simply going to say, hey, go ahead and take some damage. And I mean, if you're dying, then die. And then here, this is just saying, go ahead and get the health. So I can check on the troll's health whenever I want, okay? And then over in the runner, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two different trolls and give them different values, okay? So let's go over here. Let's say, all right, so let's make our name and our health. So we'll say this is a string name, doesn't have a starting value. Here's an int health, doesn't have a starting value. We want to be able to set the name. So that's a public method. Is it a question? Like, do we need a return value? No. They're sending information and saying set the name. So we'll say there's no return value, nothing coming out. Okay, we want to just give it a clear name, set name. And so in is going to come, in is going to come a string. I'll just call this name in. Okay, and then all our function is going to do is it's going to set the real name equal to the name that came in. Okay, so we take in a local string. I called it name in because it's the name that's coming in. And then we update the global of that variable to that value. Okay, and then we'll do down here print name. So we'll go public. Again, it's not answering a question, so no return value. We'll go print name. Here, there's nothing coming in. We want it to print the name that it stores, right? So we'll say here system.out.println, and we're going to say my name is plus name. Okay, so just introducing itself, saying, you know, my name is troll number 2 or something. Okay, and then get name, this is where we say public because we want everybody to be able to access it. We are going to return a string here. They're asking what my name is. I'm going to send it to them, okay? This is get name. There's nothing coming in. They're just saying, hey, what's your name? They don't need to send any information. And here we simply go return name. Okay, now take damage. We're going to say this is a public function. It's not answering any questions, so there's no output. It's just saying take some damage. And what we'll do is we'll take in a number int damage, and we'll simply say we had a health before, and I want to set it equal to health minus the damage. Okay, so all we're saying is you started with whatever 100 health, take 20 damage, and so now it's at 80 health. And you say take 15 more damage, and now we're at 65 health. I'm also going to shorten this. Health equals health minus damage is the same as saying subtract damage, then save. So minus equal is a really beautiful shorthand, just saying take away the damage and then save it or set it equal to. Okay, that's the same as health equals health minus damage. All right, the get health, we're going to go public, no, not void, we're returning an integer. We're saying this is the health. Okay, get health. And we're saying then there's nothing coming in. We're just returning the health. So we'll say return the health. And then down here, we'll make a quick little die. It's not going to do anything fancy, but we'll just say public void die. There's nothing coming in, and it'll just say arg, I died. So system.out.println arg, and then name, so we know which one is dying. Okay. There we go. So just made some quick ways to modify these two values. So we start with name, we start with a health, and then we have 3 ways to access the name. We could directly set the name. We can say, what is your name? And they'll say it out loud, they'll just print it. Or we could actually ask and get the return value of the name. And then we have 3 ways to kind of interact with the health as well. We can say, hey, go ahead and take some damage, troll. So if it started with 100, it'll go down. And then if it gets down low enough, it'll go, I'm dying. And then here we can always check what the health is. Okay, so let's go over here and actually make some trolls. Okay, so we're going to go troll T1 is a new troll. We're going to go troll T2 is a new troll. Okay, so we got 2 trolls. Now they're totally blank right now. So first thing, let's set their names, okay? Let's go T1, set their name to Rock. Okay, and then T2, we will set its name to Roll. Okay, so again, what that does is it says on the first object, send it the information rock into this method. Okay, so on the first object, we call on this function, we send it the string rock, and then it says, okay, save that in the name spot. So now T1 has a value for its name variable. And then we do the same thing for T2. We go, hey, update your name variable to be roll. Okay, so let's see if it worked first. Let's go T1 dot, and we'll just go print name. And then we'll go T2 dot print name. Okay, let's save this one, troll runner. Let's save this one, troll. These are both in the same folder. I'm going to open in CMD. We'll see how many typos we have. So Java C star.java, so compile every Java file in this folder. Whoa, no typos, I like it. Java, and again, we cannot run troll, there's no main. It would say, what are you trying to do? So we would only ever run the troll runner, because that's the one that's main, and that's where we instantiate 2 trolls, give them names, and then print their names. Okay, so now let's run it. And as we expected, so it made 2 trolls, updated their names, and then we printed their names. Now, really, to print their names, that's good. But instead, let's go system.out.println. And here's, actually, let's leave those 2. I'll comment them out, okay? That's one method. But I want to go system.out.println. And this way I could say T1's name is, and then I end that, and I go plus, and then I go T1.getName. So that way I'm actually able to check it, and I can say the name of the variable in one statement. It's a little more clear. I'm going to go T2's name is, and we'll call T2.getName. I'm going to save that. Again, I'm going to go back to my command prompt window, go up to recompile, down to run troll runner, and there, that's a little more clear. T1's name is rock2. Okay, so I just like that just to show you how you could use the getter. Okay, I'm going to scroll out just a little bit here so we can see it. All right, actually we could just slide this on over. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to set their health to 100 just to start out. So T1, let's set its health to 100, and T2, let's set its health to 50. Oh, he's already weak, okay? Oh, shoot. I forgot to do one thing over here. Well, otherwise, we're never going to know when the thing is dying. So what I meant to do here is right after we take damage, that would be the perfect time to say, are you dead, right? Because there's no other time in our program when it could die other than when its health goes down. And so right here, this would be a good spot to just go if health is less than 0, then call on the die function, right? Now, this isn't perfect because then the object's still there and it's a negative health, so it could die like 20 times in a row if you keep telling it to take damage even though it's dead. We would restructure this later, but this is just a fun little beginner project. Okay, so we set these to health, and then, let's ask how much damage do we want to give to each troll. Okay, so I'm going to get user input, so I'm going to go import Java utility scanner class. Up here, I got to make my scanner object. I'm going to call it KB, is a new scanner system.in. Okay, so I got my scanner object. So down here, I'm going to print a simple message. So system.out.print, how much damage do you want to give T1? Okay, and I will leave that. Notice I used just a print, so not a print line. So the cursor will still be blinking at the end of this line. And then this is what I'm going to do. Int damage equals kb.nextInt. All right, so we got some damage. And then let's actually give that to troll1. So T1 dot, what is it? Take damage, and we'll give it DMG. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing down here. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. Let's say, how much damage do you want to give to T2? And then I don't need to recreate the integer. It would actually cause an error. We already have a DMG. So we're just going to update DMG to be kb.nextInt. And then we're going to say troll2 take that damage. Okay, so we give each troll the correct amount of damage. And then down here, I'm just going to say what the current health is. Okay, so let's copy and paste this. We'll say T1's health is, and T1.get, and this time we're doing get health. Okay, so T2's health is T2.get health. Okay, let's save it. Down, there we go. Yeah, saved. Let's save this one. And we already have this open. All right. So let's javac star.java. Oh, and we have our first typo. Okay, let's see what it is. T1.setHealth cannot find. Did we not make a set health? Classic. We didn't make a set health variable, or a function. Okay, we need to be able to set the starting health. Right, that's an important ability here. So let's go public void. It's not returning anything. We're going to set the health. We need to take in an integer starting health, and then we simply set their health of the troll equal to starting health. Okay, that was a nice easy method to make. Okay, let's save that, go back over here and recompile. Perfect. And then we go Java troll runner. Okay, so we got the names working. Now it's just how much do you want to give to, so it started with 100. Let's do 90 damage. I've got this magic sword. Okay, the second troll, and now it was at 50 to start, so I'm gonna do 60 damage here, and let's see what happens. So right away he goes, roll is dying, because I did more damage. So what happened is I sent it 60, it subtracted the 60 from the 50 and said, oh my gosh, I'm at negative 10 health now for roll, and if that health is less than 0, call on this method. So down here it says arg, and it says its own name, so we know which troll is dying. And if we refer back, right, it's T2 is roll. So it goes, right after you do that 60 damage, roll is dying. And then down here we go T1's health is 10, right? We took the 90 away from the starting 100, and T1's health is negative 10. So it's just a nice simple program here, just to go through it again a little bit. You could stop watching if everything was clear to you, but we have 2 variables that we can modify and access, and we have 2 trolls that each have their own values, right? So the first troll, T1, has its own name and health, the entire program, right? It keeps track of those values. We can change, update them. And the second troll, T2, has its totally own values. And then we have a bunch of methods here which let us interact with those variables. So really what we should do is we should go, I want this variable to be private and this variable to be private, so no one has direct access to hack this little game. No one can just go in and go, my troll's got 1,000,000 health, right? So we use encapsulation to protect our data points, and then we only give specific access to that, right? Let's go down here, right? So we're setting the name. We gave access to directly set the name. We can check the name either by printing it or by just getting it back ourselves, which I liked because then we can use our variable name and the health in one statement. And then we basically did the same thing for health, right? We said, let us set it let us get it. And then the only other way I want to interact it, other than giving it a starting value and checking what it is I just wanted to be able to give some damage. And of course, if there's enough damage, we should call in this die function, which is, right? So, and then over here, all we did was make 2 trolls, we set their starting names, and then we went ahead to check and say, well, did that work? Does each variable actually have its own name? Yeah, okay. And then we did the same thing with health, right? We just gave each one a health value. We interacted with the user. How much damage do you want to give? And then we just showed their health. So I hope you enjoyed that. That was my example of how instance variables work when 2 classes are interacting. All right.